If you can't make it to one of the Catskills seasonal festivals, there's a new brewery here you can visit anytime. Before the Catskills became a tourist paradise, they were America's first frontier, a rugged place where only the strong survived. The harsh winters and rocky soil meant you had to be tenacious. It's that fierce determination that inspired the mascot for the aptly named Catskill Brewery.
We're in Livingston Manor, which is a small hamlet. We're at the gateway to the Catskill Park, and then Roscoe is just down the road. That's a very famous fly fishing town. In fact, it's called Trout Town, USA. Our mascot is an angry raccoon. Elsie Darby, who is one of the pioneer mothers of fly fishing, was up here with a New York Times reporter.
They heard some rustling out back of the house, and Elsie just got up and went outside and killed a raccoon with a shovel and came back inside. Like nothing had happened.
And it became a legend. Anybody who lived in the Catskills was a tough bird, so we celebrate that. It still takes a certain kind of tenacious attitude to live here full time, but certainly now that we've got some good beer, it's making it a little easier for people. When we decided to build a brewery here, it happened over a beer, and me and my partners were talking about what this part of the world really needed next.
You know, going all the way back to the 1940s and 50s, this was the land of the big resorts.
Millions of people came here. The biggest comedians and biggest music acts and the biggest sports stars all came to the Catskills, and it really was the most important tourism industry in America. But that industry went into decline after airfare got cheaper and air conditioning was brought onto the scene.
What we've seen in the last 30, 40 years, the Catskills being this sort of downtrodden area, but if you look around, it's a beautiful place. We just talked about what could we do in the Catskills that would have sort of an impact. We all had a passion for beer.
And so the idea for the Catskill Brewery was born. The business partners all agreed that given the special wild character of the region, they should do everything possible to respect their surroundings.
The Catskill Mountains is one of America's oldest parks. That and the Adirondack Park were the first American parks. And that's really where the American environmental movement started. The Hudson River School of Painting painted the Catskill Mountains, and that inspired generations of environmentalists and artists. We really wanted to build one of the most energy efficient, sustainable breweries in America.
In the construction of the building, we employed a number of different things, beginning with the building envelope itself. It's a highly efficient building envelope. We've got a green roof on the back building. That is something which reduces carbon emissions. Heat island effect, you know, the release of heat from the rooftop. We've got efficient big ballast lamps here in the brewery. The building is geothermally heated and cooled. So we use the energy from water in the ground that comes out at a constant temperature of 55 degrees, so it's constantly comfortable. We're standing in the parking lot, and this is what's called a permeable paver parking lot. We have grass and gravel pavers that people can park on, and when it rains here, when we get these heavy rains, water goes straight through this. We don't even get puddling. It's actually fascinating the way it works, so we are recharging the groundwater.
The brewery's solid commitment to sustainability and the environment is part of what led head brewer Caleb Brown to move his family to the Catskills.
I liked the whole kind of ethos and philosophy behind this place. Producing beer in a way that's sustainable and also making a delicious product is something that there's not a ton of people doing that. And it's a rare thing to see that, where people are like, okay, we're not just about, you know, making a money machine called a craft brewery, but we're actually going to try to make something to kind of highlight this region and bring people back here and also make good beer at the same time.
To make good beer, you have to start with good water. And in the Catskills, that's not hard to find.
The Catskills provides fresh, unfiltered drinking water for 19 million people in the greater metropolitan area. It's the largest municipal water supply that's unfiltered in the world.
It's kind of like the dream brewer's water. You have like this almost blank slate, in a sense, with your water, where you can really dial in your flavors by just a few grams or a few hundred grams of this mineral or this mineral that you add to the water. You can really make a major flavor difference.
Catskill sees itself as a booster and a beneficiary of the Catskill region. They draw their water from one of the best supplies available, and they draw the names of their beer from the area's unique folklore and environment.
Everything we do is about the Catskills in one way or another. You've got, you know, Flood Watch, which happened to be the very first beer that we made. That was the first one we came out with.
In this part of the Catskills, we've unfortunately suffered 2 100-year floods and 1 500-year flood in the last 8 years.
The day that we brewed it was a Flood Watch day. Devil's Path is one of, if not the most treacherous hiking trail in the Catskills. We knew that by utilizing kind of funky names, you know, that were a little intriguing, hikers are going to want to come up here and check the place out, and that was the point.
One of the beers is called Freak Tractor. We never learned what unfortunate incident inspired the name, but we can tell you it's called a wild beer. As the name suggests, wild beers use locally harvested wild yeast. These beers are as untamed as the Catskill Mountains and can wield unpredictable results.
Freak Tractor, it's kind of an ever-evolving beer because we're using a wild yeast in it. Every batch we're kind of tweaking it, and it's changing ever so slightly each time. For me as a brewer, my biggest passions in beers I like to make are sours, saisons, you know, the beers that are mixed culture fermentation. That's why you can see that there's a ton of barrels here. We just got 16 white wine barrels in the beginning of June and just filled those with 2 different saisons, and those are kind of like my baby beers, if that makes sense. Like, there's something so beautiful about those kind of beers. They kind of take on the life of their own, and you kind of just guide them along. It's kind of where art and science are still barely touching each other, and it kind of is this tightrope between the two. I'm doing things by hand and by feel. It's almost like wine vintages, where, you know, it's the same varietal grape made at the same place by the same blender, but every year it changes. There's a rustic beauty in that.
There's certainly no shortage of rustic beauty, and for these guys, it's their mission to share it with the rest of the world. It's about creating great beer, preserving nature, promoting tourism, and creating jobs in an area that's rebuilding its reputation as a vacation paradise.
When you come here and you see the rivers, and you see the mountains, and you see the wildlife, and the beautiful farm country, and the beautiful people, and the beautiful main streets, you realize that this is a place that's special. And if you're a hiker or a fly fisher or a skier, this is the place to be.